You have worked your butt off. You've put your time in at your job, maybe multiple jobs. You've raised your family, and you're getting to the point in life when it's time to start slowing down just a little bit. But downsizing in retirement is not always what it seems. If you make mistakes now, at this point, as you're going into retirement, it can absolutely kill the momentum that you've built over these years. And most people, they absolutely regret that either they didn't ask the right questions or they didn't know the right questions to ask as they're moving into this stage, and they didn't find out until it was way too late. So if you're looking for some peace of mind, maybe a little bit of clarity as you're getting ready to retire out to the Texas Hill Country, that's what this video is about. So if your dream is retiring to the Texas Hill Country, first of all, welcome. You're about to retire to one of the most beautiful, rewarding places that you can even imagine. But if nobody's told you yet, downsizing for retirement can be really difficult. It's not just about square footage. It's emotional, it's personal, it's deeply financial. And you just got to think about it as, look, you're moving from one stage of life to the next. And there's a lot of stuff that goes along with it. And honestly, most of the people that are moving here at this point in their lives, all of their concerns could have been taken care of up front. So I'm going to walk you through exactly what I would tell my parents if they told me that they wanted to downsize and move out here close to me in the Hill Country. So the first thing that you've got to understand is, why are you downsizing? What's the whole point? Before you even get a lender, start looking at homes, you got to get crystal clear on this. What does success look like at this point in your life and moving forward? Some people downsize to get rid of maintenance and exterior chores. Some people downsize so that they can save more money and actually spend a little bit more time traveling maybe. Some do it just to simplify their lives, and some people honestly do it just because they think that, okay, this is what you're supposed to start thinking of when you get into your 50s and maybe into your 60s. But here's the thing. I've worked with people who've gone from like 3,000 square feet to 1,200 square feet and absolutely hated the decision that they made. But it's not because the house was bad or the floor plan was bad. They just didn't actually think through what their day-to-day life was going to look like at that point. They didn't know how much room they needed. They didn't know what rooms they needed. They didn't know what their land needed to look like, because they were making a decision without actually thinking forward about things that they enjoyed doing, things that they didn't like to do. And honestly, they really didn't think about anything outside of, hey, we're going to get out of Houston and move to the Hill Country or Dallas or whatever the case was. So you've got to ask yourself a few questions up front. First of all, if you've got grandkids or nieces and nephews or even friends, are they going to come out and visit regularly? Do you have to have accommodations for folks to come spend time with you? Because honestly, when you move to somewhere like this, people are going to want to come visit and they're going to want to stay extended periods of time. Now, maybe you don't want them to, and maybe you just want a one bedroom so they can't, but you need to have that conversation with yourself and maybe your spouse up front. Second question you got to ask yourself is, do you have any hobbies? Maybe you like to hunt, maybe you like to shoot, maybe you need a craft room, maybe you need a wood shop, a big shop that you can work on motorcycles or antique cars or something like that. If you have hobbies, or if you see yourself having hobbies in the future, make sure you plan out what that looks like. And really at this stage of your life, I mean, I'm a classic example of it. We tend to collect things, and we have a lot of stuff. If you're going from 3,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet, are you okay with less storage? Are you just going to jam everything into your garage like a lot of people do until you can figure out what to do with it? Or in my case, I bought a 40-foot shipping container and I've got it on my property, and it is absolutely packed full of stuff. In fact, my wife and I are going through it right now, trying to get rid of things that I haven't used in the 7 years that we've been out here. If you're not sure about any of this stuff yet, then you're probably still in that research phase of downsizing. And it's always good to plan this ahead, especially if retirement is maybe 5 or 10 years out. Maybe you're just looking for a piece of property at this point, but it's never too early to start planning these things out, because honestly, as you plan and you think about it, these ideas are going to change. You may come up with a list of things that you want to do, give it to your significant other, and they're going to have their own list, and then you try to put them together. So this could be a years-long process of planning this stuff out, so it's never too early to start. The second thing we've got to consider here is cost. And cost is not just about price. There's a lot of things that are involved with how much it's going to cost you to maintain property. A lot of people assume, hey, I'm going into a smaller home, and regardless of whether or not it's in a subdivision or out on acreage, they equate smaller home with less expensive. But a lot of times this is what surprises them, and especially if they're coming from out of state. And this part here, this next little part, is more for my out-of-state folks. Make sure you understand Texas property taxes when you're coming into the state. They can make a huge difference, and they vary widely from one area to the next. You might have 1.4% in the county, and if you're in an HOA or you're in a subdivision, they could be as high as 3%. So that's a huge difference when you're talking about maybe an $800,000 home. Heck, it's a huge difference when you're talking about a $400,000. But our property taxes are valued on the actual value, or what the county approximates your value to be, not on the size. And one thing that I've known living out here in the hill country for a while now is our values are going way up. You do not get as much value here as you would, say, somewhere like Houston or Dallas or San Antonio. If your idea of retirement is going to a 55 plus community, and we've got some amazing ones out here, but if that's your idea of retirement, you've got to really look closely at HOA fees. There's a couple of communities out here that've got a ton of amenities, and it's amazing. It's almost like living on a cruise ship full time. But I've seen HOA fees as much as $500 and $600 a month. And again, you may be going to a smaller house, and hopefully it's going to be potentially a newer house, so it's going to be more efficient. But you may only be saving a little bit on utilities if you're constantly having to keep your house heated and cooled for guests that are coming over. Now, there are some real savings that you can have as you're moving out here. And again, especially if you're out of state, you may not know about this, but as you get older, especially at 65, we've got an over 65 exemption that lowers your taxes and kind of locks them in a little bit more. We've got homestead exemptions if this is going to be your primary residence. And then also, if you're a disabled vet with certain levels of disability, you're going to get reduction in your taxes, and it's going to lock those. 100% disabled vets don't pay the property taxes that everybody else pays out here. If you want some more information on them, I've got some videos that you can watch. You can just reach out and ask me, but I walk through kind of what those exemptions are, how to file for them, things like that. So if you're looking for that, just let me know. But at the end of the second point, I'll just say this. Understanding your numbers are really important, and knowing what those costs are ahead of time, that goes back into planning ahead and making sure that you've got a good team on the ground, a realtor, a lender, maybe even an attorney, a financial advisor, but understanding what those costs are, how do they translate as you get older? Because a lot of people now are moving out here, even my age, 50, 55, and they're not retiring yet, but they've got the ability to commute in and out to their job. They just want to set it up for when they do retire, it being amazing. So knowing what those numbers look like now and how that translates into the future is going to save you a lot of frustration later. Third thing I want to talk about is your community. And community is really, really important. And I'm not talking about the community you live in, like, Blanco, Johnson City, Fredericksburg. I'm not talking about those types of communities. Right now, if you're coming out of a metro area, you probably live in the suburbs or something like that. You've got a lot of people around you. And one of the things that people don't realize until they get out here is how much they actually miss people. Think about it. You may have been in the same house for 30 or 40 years, or, you've been in the same community or the same suburb, call it Pearland or Katy or whatever. In your mind, you think, man, I cannot wait. I want 5, 10, 15, 20 acres. I don't want to be around another soul. I just want peace and quiet and birds. And then when you get out there, wow, it's a little bit different than what you thought. Once you're not commuting to work anymore and you're not dropping off the kids and picking them up and going to football games and softball games and plays and stuff like that, the way you interact with the outside world completely changes. And again, that may be completely fine with you. That may be what you're looking for. But the question I would encourage you to ask is, where are you going to find your new community? Humans are, I'll call them pack animals. We get fulfilled being around other people. It doesn't have to be all the time. Sometimes we need that to fill our cup. Now, the good thing is the hill country is full of options. We've got wine clubs, we've got book clubs, we've got hiking groups, we've got travel groups, travel all over the world together. We've got supper clubs out here where people go around to each other's houses and kind of hang out like that once a month. There's a ton of volunteer opportunities with libraries, animal shelters. We've got something at Dripping Springs called Home in a Month, where the community comes together and they build a home for a community member that really is needing it in a month's time, really 6 weeks, but still, home in a month sounds better than home in 6 weeks. Now we've got pickleball leagues, we've got veterans associations, 12 Fox Brewery out here between Dripping Springs and Johnson City. Every Monday night they have fireside chats for veterans and first responders. And then there's always churches. We've got a lot of churches and church-based activities out here, but the reason I'm bringing this up isn't to tell you all the activities like that. That's nothing different than anywhere else. But what my main point is here is the happiest people are the ones who get involved in these communities before they're finished unpacking. And a lot of times what I'll tell everybody, most people are on Facebook at this point in time. What I'll tell people is get onto Facebook and start finding groups in the area that you think you're interested in. Again, if it's, Dripping Springs or Blanco or Johnson City, go to those pages and search maybe Dripping Springs Jeep Club, Dripping Springs Church Group, and get involved in those groups online and try to connect with that community even before you move out here. Because if you wait until you're out here for a while and then you're sitting around one day and you go, you know what, I'm actually lonely, I want to get involved with some stuff, it's 10 times harder because at that point you've already gotten into your routine. If you can get it started before you move out here and it becomes a part of your new routine as you're moving out, it's a lot easier to get connected. So again, the easiest way to do that is to get involved on Facebook, start doing some of those searches and find those communities ahead of time. Number 4 is probably one of the hardest decisions and one of the most important decisions that you're going to make as you're moving out here to the hill country. The question is, do you want land or do you want lock and leave? It seems weird. You may be like, I know I want land, I know I want it, but you really, really have to ask yourself this question because there's beauty and there's also freedom in both of those. You look at land and I'm blessed enough to live on 5 acres and it's amazing, but I'm going to tell you, I'm 50 and I have a hard time finding enough time to manage all of my land, to clean up all the downed limbs, to make sure, when I do mow it, to get it mowed, and to do that in between everything else that I'm doing. A lot of times I'm looking around going, man, did I make the right decision buying a piece of property? On the other hand, having something that's lock and leave seems pretty attractive at times. My wife and I like to travel. We might be gone for a month at a time, heading up to, in different parts of the country. And the ability to have somebody else check on the landscaping, make sure the water is taken care of, make sure nothing is leaking, not have to worry about people breaking in. That's a pretty attractive option. And we've got some really nice lock and leave opportunities out here, not just in Dripping Springs, but south into San Marcos, out into Blanco. Fredericksburg's got some great opportunities. There are really, really beautiful places that you can find lock and leave that feels a little bit more like your own private piece of property. And at the end of the day, here's the big trade-off. Having property gives you that feel of, man, I own my piece of Texas. I've got the freedom. I don't have a neighbor right here. My neighbor, I can't hardly even see the house. And it gives you that. But at the same time, the other thing that it gives me is I've got to maintain a septic system. If you have a well, I don't. I've got a rainwater collection system, but I've got to maintain a rainwater collection system. I've got to maintain landscaping. I've got to do all these things. So as I get further into retirement, yeah, that sounds attractive. And okay, I'll have more time as I get out of my day-to-day life to do that. But is that something that I actually want to do? And on the other hand, like I said, lock and leave, there comes a different type of freedom with that, being able to go and definitely lower maintenance than what I've got out here. But the downside is for some people, now I've got to deal with an HOA. Now I've got neighbors right on top of me. I don't have quite as much privacy. So again, it may seem like a simple decision for you, but I really encourage you, kind of sit in that decision for a while. There's always the old pros and cons list, and it might be a harder decision than you think. And the thing is here, you've got to think long term. If you're downsizing and you've got an eye on retirement at this point, you've got to think down the road, kind of what do you want life to look like? If you love gardening, you love space, you want a little bit of a view, and you're planning on having family come out and maybe, again, grandkids, nieces and nephews running around and you want room for them, land may be the option. But on the other side of that, if your family lives out of state and you would rather travel to them, and maybe your idea is you've got a couple of kids with grandkids in different parts of the country and you want to kind of pop around throughout the year, don't want that yard work, all right, then yeah, that lock and leave may be the way to go. And this may throw a complete wrench in all of your plans. I've got a couple I'm helping right now, and they want both. They have a house in a small subdivision, really small yard, easy to maintain. He can maintain the whole thing with an electric push mower, and it takes them about 20 minutes to mow. And they're also looking for a lake property because they want a legacy. They want a property that they can pass down to their kids, and eventually, hopefully, they'll have grandkids. That's their plan. Right now, they want their kids to be able to come out and bring their friends out to the lake house. So they're doing a little bit of town and country, and that's something that's getting more and more popular. So if you can't make a decision on you want land or lock and leave, maybe the decision is to scale down cost expectations and have a little bit of both. I'm familiar with it. It's something that's pretty attractive to me as well. So if that's an option for you, let's have a conversation about that. The fifth thing, and at my age, I don't want to think about this. And again, if you're just downsizing now and you're not retiring yet, you probably don't want to think about it either. But if your plan for this move is to be somewhere long term, let's call it 15 or 20 years, if that's your plan, you're going to have to start considering healthcare. And it's not just about the cost of it is or how big the hospital hospital is. It's how close is that hospital to you? Are you okay with driving 45 minutes to a hospital? Because I can tell you right now, there's no major hospitals in Dripping Springs, Blanco, or Johnson City at this point. Fredericksburg doesn't even have a major hospital. The largest hospitals are going to be in Marble Falls. That's one of the reasons it's a huge retirement area right now, or Austin or San Antonio. So healthcare at some point is going to have to play into the way you're thinking about this move. And then beyond that, it's not necessarily how close that hospital is. Do they accept Medicare? Again, as you get into retirement, Medicare is a thing. You're going to have to start to kind of consider that. The other thing that you're going to need to consider are, what about specialists? If you've got considerations now for specialists, okay, how close by are those specialists? If you're a vet, how close by are the VA hospitals? There's a lot of good ones in San Antonio and Austin, but are there very specific ones that you're going to need to go to? What about when something unexpected happens? Are you going to be okay with minor emergency clinic? Or if it is an emergency, how long is that ambulance ride? I hate talking about it, and I get a little bit, again, none of us want to get older, but it's a fact of life, and I don't like talking about it. But if you're going to have to jump on an ambulance ride, how long is it going to take them to get there? Because this is something that a lot of people don't think about until they actually need this, and it may not be emergency care. They may be having to deal with a little bit of blood sugar issue or something like that. But if they've moved out to the other side of Fredericksburg, maybe to Harper, and all of a sudden they've got to be going into Austin for a primary care or a specialist every month or even twice a month, okay, then at that point it becomes a major issue. But they loved the place when they moved out there 10 years ago. It's only now that they've had to consider, crap, I've got to drive an hour and a half to see my doctor. So I'll wrap up on, if you're needing something specific right now from primary care or from a specialist, or if you just want to kind of future-proof your life, it's worth knowing what's within 15 minutes versus 45 minutes. The sixth thing may sound completely simple, but this is the most beautiful part of downsizing or retiring out here to the hill country. What do you want to wake up to in the morning? It's amazing. And I'm telling you right now, I'm sitting here. This is out on my patio. I've got a cup of coffee. I had a deer over here earlier eating. My dog's out here with me. I've got birds singing. It's starting to rain a little bit. Planning out this part of downsizing is the absolute best part of it. And I want you to sit in it, and I want you to think about it, and I want you to plan out, what is your ideal day going to look like when you move out here? Is it grabbing that coffee, sitting out on your patio or on your back porch, watching deer, walk through the trees and down through the meadow, going down to your deer feeder? Or is it a little bit different? Do you want to get up, get on a sidewalk and a hike and bike trail, and you want to wander through a neighborhood and visit with friends and have coffee with them, maybe at the amenity center in the neighborhood? Maybe gardening's your thing and you want your day to be spent tending to roses, or, having the grandkids over and sitting in the kitchen and baking with them. So maybe you need to have a custom built kitchen with a giant island so that you can hang around that thing and roll out your kolache dough. Every time that I help somebody that has downsized out here that loves where they landed, it's because they put most of their thought into this one simple question. What does your ideal day look like in this next move? Forget the search filters. Zillow, yeah, you can find it all on Zillow, but forget the search filters. Start with your lifestyle vision, and then you can reverse engineer everything else you're looking for. And as it's starting to rain on me here, which in the hill country is always a blessed thing, keep this in mind. Downsizing or retiring should not feel like a downgrade. It should be an upgrade to the most amazing part of your life. So make sure you put the time into it. And if you've got questions, if you need some help walking through this, guys, that's what I'm here for. Reach out to me.